Hey, you guys, Trisha Turner here. This is Tuesday, a little after 12, because I'm just a little bit late. This is Anything But Average Achieving Success in Life. Why do we do this? We do this every week on Facebook Live at 12 o'clock, on Tuesdays, 12 o'clock Central. Why? Because everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody's got some success in their lives, I believe. And I think it's important that we share those kinds of things, because if you're just paying attention to media and TV and all that stuff, they mostly share the negativity, and I try to focus on the positivity. So I've got my friend Jena Turner here with me today. Hi, Jena.
Hey Trisha, how are you?
I'm awesome. So the first time I met her, you guys, I was like, holy crap, we share the same last name. We could be sisters. This is so awesome. I love it. And we're in real estate together, and we're in Houston together. This
I
is
know.
crazy.
What are the odds, right?
Yes. And y'all, the first time we met was at a Houston Real Producers event, and it was on a Zoom, wasn't it?
It was in it was a couple of years ago. And
Yes.
we met via Zoom and everybody said, you must know Trisha. Are y'all related? There's no way there are two powerhouse women with the last name Turner in the same city. And I said, we could be related.
We so could.
I don't think we are. We should
I
be.
know. Kindred. We're kindred spirits. I
That's
love
right.
this. So you guys, first of all, she's got her own real estate company, which is like huge. When we met a couple years ago on this Houston Real Producers event, I remember off screen, we were like sharing like her story. Like we just shared, like, what are you doing? Like some of your struggles. And in the last 2 years, and but in especially the last year, Jenna's like skyrocketed. She's taken off. Her company is doing amazing things. She and her personal life is just blessed and highly favored. And so I kind of wanted to walk through that a little bit. I'm going to ask you some questions too, because I don't know some things like, are you a Houstonian? Are you born and raised here in Houston?
Nope, I'm actually from Belleville, Texas, which
Oh
is
my gosh, I didn't know that.
out Brenham, Sealy area. And my
Yes.
parents still live there. And I went to school at Sam Houston State in Huntsville. And then I moved to Houston in 2006.
Okay. So Belleville, my office is in Fulshire. So it's like, 30 minutes down the way. How crazy. And Belleville is like a hot commodity right now.
It
People
is
are
such
going.
a hot commodity. Actually, my parents hit me up for a CMA request more than anyone else I know. And let me tell you, there's a delay on doing your parents' CMA request because you're like, I got real consumers to help, Reese and Gail.
Yes.
But yeah, I grew up out in the country out there, and my parents traveled for a living. So it was convenient to live an hour from an airport, and they
Yeah.
traveled around the world. And so Belleville was a great place to grow up. And I moved out there in second grade from Pearland and still enjoy going out there every really 4 to 6 weeks with my boys and letting them run and get some fresh air.
I love it. Okay. So you're in the Heights area now. Kind of what got you there from Belleville?
I really like the Heights. I like older homes. I like colorful homes. And I started at a real estate brokerage in the Heights, which was a small boutique brokerage, and actually was helping real estate investors flip properties, and found a cute little flip, and my investor didn't have time to renovate it. And I said, hey, let me just take this one off the books. And so I moved into my first Heights house in 2012. I actually just sold that house a couple of months ago.
Nice.
It like quadrupled in
I
value.
Good investment. Holy crap.
It was a great investment, and I really had to like beg, barter, and steal to get into it in 2012.
Literally.
But I knew that it was a great neighborhood to live in, and I really wanted to see the changes in the neighborhood. It's so convenient to everything for me. So I think the best benefit for me is that by being centrally located, I can Zoom one way or another to show houses. And we have agents at our brokerage that live in all suburbs, but this is kind of the meeting point and the central point. And so I just love the neighborhood. It's cute. I'm a little intimidated though. I have neighbors who hire decorators for Halloween decorations. And I'm like, I'm not made for this neighborhood. I need to go somewhere
You
else.
can do it. Got this.
So I throw a few pumpkins out there and say, like, I hope that's enough to stand up to the decorations that my neighbors have in this neighborhood.
Okay, so now you guys, her real estate company is called Found Realty. I want to know where that name came from.
So I had started a team at my last brokerage and we had started branding. And then literally we spent all this money on branding. And 2 weeks later, I'm actually going, I was pregnant. I was going to get a prenatal massage and I see a little boutique called Found. And I was like, that is the most genius name for a
I
real
love
estate company. So I promised myself that if we ever morphed from a team into a brokerage that I was going to rebrand once again. And it was going to be Found. So you found your home, you found your place to work, you found whatever it is you were looking for, you could find it here.
I love that because there's that song. I don't even remember what song it is, but it says, I was once lost and now I'm found, you know? Love
Yep.
that.
Yes.
Okay, so before you opened your own real estate company, where were you? Like, how long have you been in real estate? Where did you begin?
Yeah, I've been in real estate 11 years.
Okay.
Before I was in real estate, I actually got a job as a personal assistant to a real estate investor in the middle of the recession or at the beginning of the recession. And I had been in like the service industry before that. And this real estate investor hired me. And all of a sudden, one day handed me a binder and said, I own 80 units, 80 doors, inner loop in the city of Houston. And they're not profitable. Can you figure out why? And so, like, the first week I picked up as dry cleaning. The second week I was figuring out how 80 doors weren't profitable. Uh, and I actually turned that around really quickly. And so he started telling other investors about me, and I started my own consulting company where I
Nice.
basically helped real estate investors who were not profitable become profitable.
Love
And
it.
a lot of it was like they had empty units that had been sitting empty. They were undercharging on market rent. They could do a few improvements. A lot of it was, if we just painted this and made it a little bit cuter, we could charge more rent. And so over the course of 2 to 3 years, I basically flipped about 250 doors in the
Wow.
city of Houston. And so then a realtor I really admire, Richard Ray, I don't know if you've ever met him.
Mm-mm.
Um, Richard is one of the top dogs in Houston, and he came into this fourplex in Montrose that I had, helped get ready for market, and put a for sale sign in it and sold it for $1 million. And he whispered to me, "Is like, hey, the commission on this is pretty good. Are you getting paid well?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting paid great at $20 an hour."
You're
Um,
like, no.
and he's like, "Yeah, I think you need to get your license and become my competition because you're really good at this." And so, really, after his encouragement, got my license, been licensed 11 years. And I've been at a boutique brokerage, and I was there for 5 or 6 years. And then I moved over to Intero, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company, a little bit larger company. We were me and an admin were the top producing agents there. And honestly, it was never part of the plan to open up a brokerage. That was not a dream I had, but I really felt that we were very forward thinking in how we were doing real estate at the time. And I just felt like for us to go to another brokerage at that time, we'd kind of be stepping back
Yeah,
in how things are run. And I was doing a lot of continuing education. I was doing a lot of traveling. I was starting to speak at real estate events. This is about 4 years ago. And so I was a sponge, I was absorbing
oh yeah,
everything I could from everywhere and putting it into play in my business. And I just felt like I have that gift and I have that gift of sharing it. So I need to open up my own brokerage. It's the best way to build a bigger table and have more seats at the table.
absolutely. So Found started how long ago?
It'll be 3 years in December. And I literally decided to do it in like one day, a few days before Christmas, almost 3 years ago. And I looked at my operations director and was like, hey, what if we all just like did our own thing? Because we were kind of operating as our own mini brokerage inside of a brokerage anyway.
Right.
And, a few people in my family were like, absolutely not. That's a terrible idea. And I was like, great. I signed the lease and I'm going to develop a logo in 24 hours. So true Jenna fashion, I just hit the ground running. And the first 90 days was crazy. I worked around the clock. I had a 2-year-old and a like 8-month-old baby at the
Good
time. So
Lord.
it was I just didn't sleep for 90 days. But we got it all done and all organized and the initial setup going. And we stayed relatively small for the first 2 years. So we really had a heavy admin support system. So I had in-house marketing, had in-house assistant and operations, and we had 5 or 6 agents for really the first 18 months. And I was good with that. I didn't want any drama. I just, I had seen past brokers like answer their phone, like they're saying, oh, we're answering our phone at all hours of the night. And so I was playing, I was playing small for a minute and just saying like, no, I'm good. If we actually have a huge office, we have a 2,400 square foot office that I rented off of that. And I was like, honestly, if there's only 4 in here, that's fine. I'm good with it as long as like I just get to run my business and we get to do things that we want to do. But what I found was that it was actually really lonely without having agents who understand the struggle of what we do every day. And so it's like, we got to build a bigger table. We got to bring more people to the.
So when you were doing all of that, did you find like there's no one to talk to? There's no like-minded people. There's no one to collaborate with?
Yeah, it was just lonely. And I was paying to go away to conferences so I could feel normal, right? Like, oh, there are other women who are also balancing babies on both hips and running a business and entrepreneurs and all, IRS tax bills and all the scary things that go along with, being exposed, being out there and having all the risk. And so I just said like, I got to meet more like-minded people. And there has to be some people who also want to be encouraged and can encourage me back. And so that's really where we started recruiting more.
So in the last 12 months, especially, you started coaching too. Did you coach with anyone prior to that?
No, I went from no one to the best coach in the country.
Right? Holy crap, you did.
Yes. And
all out.
I was, but that had been on my vision board for a couple of years, actually. And I'll tell you, it was during the pandemic that a lot of my staff was working from home. A lot of our agents were working from home. They didn't have care for their children. I had to figure out a nanny situation pretty quickly when the daycare closed. And I was up here alone and I'm looking, I'm pointing this way because I had this little list on the side of my desk and it was like, sell this many houses, do these things, get this certification, and it's like hire John Cheplack. And that had been
on your list.
It was on my list, and it had been on my list for 2 years, and I still have that list saved because it was funny. Middle of pandemic. Well, I guess pandemic really started in March. I think by July, I was like, shit, I've done everything for the whole year. And like, now what do I do? And our production was good and everything was great, but I felt like there was something more I could be doing. And so I had never met John, and I kept waiting like, well, when the world reopens, I'll go to an event, I'll see how like it goes, and then I'll reach out to him. And I didn't know when the world was going to reopen. So I just reached out to him, and I started coaching really in late August of 2020. And I think the most important thing for people who hear my story to know is that the first 8 to 12 weeks of real estate coaching had nothing to do with real estate for me. And that's what I speak on now and tell people about, because, I was sitting there telling my coach all these reasons that my business is great. And he's like, but what's the real deal? What's the real deal? What's really going on with you? And the real deal is that I had some really big personal obstacles work through. And unfortunately, I couldn't work through those and grow my business without doing it simultaneously. It wasn't one or the other. It was they're going to have to go hand in hand. And so that's what started the craziness last August.
So can you share some of that personal struggle? Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure. So I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. My 5-year-old gave me some trouble when I had him, and I actually had to have multiple emergency surgeries. I almost died. And it created a whole bunch of health issues that I just thought were normal and like avoided for a very long time. And then there was also like the mental aspect of how all that went down. It was a medical malpractice issue. So they actually they were letting me leave the hospital on Christmas Eve 5 years ago, and nobody had told me that I almost died.
Wow.
And and so there was a lot that went into that. And then I added another baby on top of that. And so what it had gotten to in the last year before I started coaching was that I had severe chronic pain. I was going to see doctors and specialists all the time. Nobody could find out what was wrong with me. I was hospitalized. No one could find out. And I actually told one doctor once, like, I'm going to die of this like crazy disease or something. And then you guys are going to feel really bad. And I'm coming back to haunt you. Because I was so pissed. I was livid that I'm such a go-getter and I literally never sit still. I haven't watched TV in probably, I don't know, 8 months.
Right.
Like I'm not a like sit on the couch and veg kind of girl. And this was really preventing me from living the best version of my life. And so even a day of showing houses, man, would kill me.
Really?
I'd show houses all day on a Saturday, and I'd have to go see like a chiropractor, reflexologist, acupuncturist, and like have pain management through my doctor, just to recover from a day of showing,
That's crazy.
7 houses. But on the outside, and if anyone follows me on social media, you know that I tell all my biz, right? Like I'm very vocal about who I am and what I do, and you see me with my kids. But on the inside, in that last year before I started getting healthy, I was not talking about how hard it was just to do my business every day. And so if you're having personal struggles like that, it weighs into everything. It weighs into how motivated you are to get up and cold call, right? Or follow up with leads or get out there and door knock or hustle. And so really John was like, hey, John, my coach was like, hey, I think we got to get this figured out. So he encouraged me, just start moving. Like, no, nothing. He's like, just start moving and let's talk next week. So I hired a trainer who's still my trainer. And really for the first 3 months, I was able to go to the gym 1 day a week for 30 minutes. And that's all I could do. But actually just
like pain wise?
Yeah, it was helping me a lot. So really by the end of 90 days, I had almost gotten rid of probably about 70% of my chronic pain just by moving a little bit 1 time a week. But I needed to get strong. And that's essentially what I figured out after this terrible surgery I went through, is that I just needed to get stronger. So, fast forward 5 months later, it was 2 times a week. Now I'm average. I'm working out anywhere from 5 to 7 days a week.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And I love it now, which is so weird. And if I don't do it, I'm a nightmare to deal with, because I just never understood, as a mom of 2 young children who worked all the time, how am I going to say like, hey, I can't drive you to school today because I have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Once I started prioritizing those things, everything kind of fell into place. And I don't feel like I'm taking anything away from them by taking that time for myself, which is something I think women especially have a hard time with. When we feel like we work all the time, you don't want to take any more time for yourself, but it makes you work better when you are stronger and when you are more efficient, because my schedule is so so well thought now because I know that I need those 30 minutes at least a day in order to um, not be violent.
But don't you think, besides the violent thing, don't you think it's made you a better mom and have more fun with your kids too?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was doing cartwheels with my kids in the front yard last night. And my oldest was like, "It's pretty good for an old lady." And my youngest was like, "Mom, you are the best." You know, he thinks I hung the moon. So, um, but actually, when my boys used to play games with me, and I've told this story before, like we used to play Duck Duck Goose, and my oldest would always tell me, like, "Mom, you can sit on the couch," because I know like sitting on the floor and then getting up and running is difficult. And the problem with that now is that like I have to play Duck Duck Goose all the time, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan.
But you probably appreciate it now.
I do. And my boys like have said such cool things to me about like, "Hey mom, remember when like you weren't strong?" Or they've come to the gym and watched. And I'm sure my trainer does not love my boys coming to the gym. It's a little bit of a danger zone, but it's just changed. It's changed so much about how we do things and how we do things
And
as a family. And I walk my son to school every day, and I walk to go pick him up in the afternoon. And none of that would have been possible without real estate coaching. So I don't know. That's a weird thing, but it is. That's how I got into this stuff. And so that was all like August, September of last year, and I've kept up with it. And I didn't even try to start eating better, doing anything else really until later in the spring. So I just said, like, let me focus on getting strong first. Then we got really busy with growing the business because essentially, as soon as I started taking care of me, we went from 8 agents to 32.
yep.
And in a very quick amount of time. And then we were like, oh my God, we don't have the systems in place for all these people. So let's figure that out real quick. But it's huge growth as a company. And everything really started with the like personal dynamic of it first.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, and I, because of John Sheplack, of course, because we go to all of his events too, and he's a beast, and your mindset is just huge, and it's a big role in all of this. Do you think that that's part of what helped you get through this and transform? Is that changing of your mind?
Yeah, once I knew it was possible, and I think once I was surrounded also by people who were doing the same thing. And I think that's what's so cool about events like these. I told at the last event that you and I were both at in Tahoe, I was telling someone, I said, you can always tell who the newcomers are to these type of events because they come in like guns a blazing, saying like, I'm such a badass. This is my production, da 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 da. And then the rest of us are like, we're all a mess, you know?
Right.
And like once you admit that you're a mess and that you have things to learn, that's when your business really elevates. And that's when you as a person really elevate. And so to be in a room full of people who on paper look perfect, maybe in appearances look perfect, but everybody's got their own stuff that gets in their own way, right?
Their own
Um,
troubles.
yeah, and whether it's family or kids or stress or stuff with the business, it doesn't matter what it is. Without identifying those things and being really cognizant of what is creating blockage in your business can't grow. And that's really what we're all trying to do, is grow our businesses and have a little fun along the way.
They say that 95% of the world are followers and only 5% are leaders. And just like I had my own brokerage too. And so, but you and I never knew each other. If we had known each other then, we could have been collaborating like crazy, but we didn't. But when I was doing just that and running my brokerage, it was like, again, lonely. There's nobody to collaborate with, nobody to hang out with, until I started going to the events. And I started going to the events and all this thing about a little over 3 years ago. And it was like a game changer, because then it's like, here they all are. Here's all the like-minded people. So then you want to go to like every single event, because it inspires you to want to do more and be more. And then with our business and our industry, it can be, hate filled sometimes with others, and it can be super hard and overwhelming. And when you go to one of the events like the ones that we go to, you leave there and you're like, I got this. Like, if they're doing 1,000 transactions, we're doing 1,000 transactions. It's
Mhm.
doable. It doesn't feel overwhelming anymore, you know?
Right, absolutely. And I think just being in the room with the right people, you may not pick up everything that I pick up, right?
Yep.
But you hear something that translates to your business or to your life, and you're able to say, like, okay, I'm going to put that one in my back pocket.
Yes.
And that would work in my business, or that would work in simplifying my personal life. But it is a community. And I think, you were in that room with me in Tahoe, and there was a woman, Eva Lynn, who spoke, who's just the coolest. Like, you got to get her on this show too.
Definitely. That gives
Um,
me chills, her story.
yes, and such an amazing story. And I actually texted, the host, and I said, I've waited my whole life to be in a room with women like Evelyn. Like, I've waited my whole life to feel normal. Like, I graduated at the bottom of my high school class. I wasn't, in National Honor Society. I never maybe fit in a lot of things. I was a bad student, but a great entrepreneur, and I loved working. But now all of a sudden, I'm surrounded by people who are exactly like me. I've waited my whole life to find these people, right?
Yes.
So I think that's so important for how we grow. And we do that on a brokerage level, and we do that on a team level. And I know your team, y'all are doing some amazing culture building activities, and you guys are running thick, and we're able to do that there. But you and I, as leaders, kind of have to go get some motivation and bring it back to our team also, so that we make sure that we're showing up as the best version of leaders that we can.
We do. And in our industry, because it's ever changing and it's evolving so much, and it's like we got disruptors coming at us, we got all kinds of things. So it's like we're running a business. At the end of the day, we're responsible, or I feel that we're responsible for the livelihood of our agents and their families. So I take that, very heavy. It's like it's a load. And every day I may not feel like getting up and showing up if I don't, some days, but it's like we do because we said we would. And I raised my hand, and so did you. So it's like we have no choice. That's what we said we would do. Period.
That's right. That's
You know?
right. And sometimes it's not fun, but
No, sometimes
every
it's not.
every day I'm like, where's the bossier boss around here? Like, who's in charge here?
Maybe
Um,
it's like some days I'm like, man, it'd just be a lot easier if I didn't have to do this stuff today. But I do, and so do you, and that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, and I love it. I think, once you realize, like, oh, I have a solution for that. If an agent comes into my office and says, like, I've got this really big problem and I have the solution in my brain, that's super exciting to me. But then there's some days where I'm like, I am not the person to ask about how to open lock boxes, but if you have a complex problem, I'm your girl. I'm your girl.
Yes,
Um,
my dad used to say to me for years, because I'm always in builder mode, because I'm a visionary, so I'm never satisfied. I always want to be building something. I always am building something. And he would be like, why, what is it about you? Why can't you just relax? Why do you have to keep doing? Why do you want to get bigger? Why do you want to do this? And I would tell him, because I feel in my heart that this is what I'm supposed to do. I believe that I can help everybody, and I believe everybody needs help. And I've never swayed from that. And unfortunately, I've got taken advantage of a lot with that, but I still, it's in my core, I want to help people.
yep,
Truthfully, you're the
yep.
same.
Yep. Yeah. I'm marked that way also. And it's a big responsibility. But I try to tell people in my life that sometimes don't understand it, and say, like, if I didn't do this, if I wasn't this, then I would die. Like, you're asking me to live not authentically to who I am. And so if I can't have my foot on the gas pedal at all times, then I know it's stressful to deal with someone like that. But if I didn't do that, then you'd be asking me to not live authentically. And I would never ask you to not live authentically to what your purpose or journey is. And so I think that's been a little bit of a struggle for me over the years, especially with young children. I felt like I'm not the mom that fits in at daycare, right? I've
Oh yeah.
definitely felt that way before. And I don't know anything about what's going on in the PTA at school. I actually, really funny story. My one of my admins, I sent a picture of my 5-year-old to her, and I was like, Nico asked very sweetly if you could help him with his snacks for his baseball game. And I was out of town actually at a conference. And so the snacks were delivered to my house. They got to the game, and she like really put them in over extravagant bags with like bows. And I was like, see, now everybody's going to know that it wasn't me. Like you had to, like, you one upped it.
Yes.
Like you needed to slack a little bit so people would have like,
Thought it
they
was
see
you.
this bow and they're like, there's no way that mom brought those.
No, but isn't that funny? I
Yeah.
think like I used to struggle sometimes because when you are trying to help people, you're also a people pleaser, I believe. And so and that's just again, it's at the core. And so I used to always like when we're a mom, we want to make sure our kids are taken care of or our significant other or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like if we're not doing things that fulfill our souls, then it's like what are we even on this planet for? We get one shot, you know? And
Yeah.
so I have to just like I tell my family, listen, I'm not normal. I tell all the agents here, and I don't want y'all to try to be like me because I know I'm not normal. I'm like robotic, according to my husband, and I'm okay with that because that's the way I'm wired inside. And I think when you have peace about that within yourself, it makes things a lot easier, you know? Then you have that inner peace.
Yes. So I for sure know that I'm not going to be the mom that's going to show up with the anything home cooked,
No,
wrapped in a bow. And once you
no,
accept that that's not the mom you are, then you're like, meh, you get
it's okay.
you get some packaged popcorn, kids. That's
Heck
what you
yeah.
get.
Now, moving forward, like our industry's changing like crazy. And I believe that 2022 is going to be an amazing year. I think we're going to do great things. And you and I are on that same wavelength where we're just like, we want to do more, be more, help more people. So there's an event coming up that you're sponsoring, hosting, and all about. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's tell everybody
Yeah.
about that.
I'm so excited. So I had this idea that Houston realtors needed more. They needed more information. And I felt like, gosh, I paid $4,000 to be in the first room I was in with my coach. What if I could make something like that affordable to our market and to my agents and to other agents and to people I really love and want to show value to. And so we are hosting an event on November 13th. It's a Saturday. I am flying in my coach. He is going to be speaking during the day. I am flying in one of my best friends, Veronica Figueroa. She's from Orlando. She runs a team that closes over 1,300 homes a year. It's one of the most successful teams in the country. And I've been able to see behind the curtain on her team in a lot of ways. And man, they just run a crazy operation. And it's like a Fortune 500 company, but a real estate company. And people are like, oh, you can do that? It's not just all mom and pop. Like, no, you can run like high volume operations. And so she's coming in. My friend Keith Pike, he's a Remax agent. He's literally won every single award for being the best at everything with Remax. They're coming in. I have Rebecca and Josh Soto. They wrote a book during the pandemic called Married in Real Estate. And I think it actually brings value to any kind of partnerships. If you work on a team, if you work with your best friend in the business, their book on real estate and how to work together to create goals and obtain, certain goals that you have for yourself is amazing. And so I have those people coming in. Then I have a local, and you're on it, a local women's panel at lunch where I have you, and I had a operations director for a team in Houston. I have a broker owner for a brokerage in Houston coming on. I have some really neat women who are going to talk about their business and some of the things that they're doing in our industry, which I really believe that they are the leaders in our Houston market. So as much as we want to bring in all this famous talent, I also wanted are famous leaders from the city. And I wanted to hear what they're doing, because I think it's a good opportunity for local agents to, if they don't go to conferences, if they don't pay for coaching, they're going to see people like you and people like my friend Shelly. They're going to see them and they're going to say, hey, that's someone in my market that I can ask to lunch and I can bounce ideas off of. And that's really what we want to bring to the table. And actually, I keep getting registrations from out of state broker owners and realtors and people who are coming in, because, like I said, the first time I sat in a room with John Cheplack, who's one of the best real estate coaches in the country, probably the most expensive. He doesn't coach people anymore, and he is now just doing events. But the first time I sat in a room with him, it was $4,000. And so I have tickets to our events starting at $300 for the individual agent. And if you have a team of 5 or more, they're discounted to $200 a piece. And then we also have a VIP dinner where we have a smaller amount of tickets, but we wanted it to be intimate because we're going to have all these speakers, and then we're going to have some really high end and high volume people who are flying in to attend with their teams. I wanted to have a really intimate dinner and drink, situation that night, so that an agent who is at the event can go up to Keith Pike from, the #1 Remax in the country and say, how did you get there?
Right.
How did that, and give me some real actionable items about what I need to do next. So we have a dinner also that night. So it's November 13th. We have a bunch of really, really cool people and things planned. We're serving lunch. We have a website for it that is relaunchlivehhouston.com. And that is where anybody can go and get their information and get their tickets. And we can only fit so many people in a room. And actually, we started advertising it last week, and we are killing it in ticket sales. So, especially because what I didn't realize is that all these people, it's so cheap that people who want to see these speakers speak are like, oh, we're flying in for the night. And I got a great deal on a hotel in downtown. So if somebody needed lodging, we have a really nice, like 4-star hotel for $130 a night. So like even people who are out in Belleville, right? Like my hometown, they could come in, stay the night in the big city, go to this event, and not have to worry about flying, not have to worry about packing, because this is going to be in our backyard in Houston. And I'm so excited about what value it's going to bring to agents and honestly, brokers, sales managers. I feel like I actually had a sales manager reach out to me for a competing company and say like, what are you doing here? What's this about? And I was like, hey, we're just bringing value. That's what we want to do. And selfishly, I need my team in the room, right? I needed my team. I needed my agents to hear this information.
Yeah.
And why would I keep that to myself? Because the real deal in real estate is that everything that is said is going to motivate someone differently. Just like we said earlier, like what works for your business may not work for my business. And so there's going to be something of value for every single person in that room. And I actually decided today, I was like, after talking to a couple of people, I was like, you know what? If you don't learn something of real value, I'll give you your money back for the $300 ticket, because I know what will happen at the end of the event. People are going to be floored, and I'm going to be so excited that it will change lives.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Hey, what time does the event start?
At 10 a.m. and it goes till 4 p.m. And then we have a dinner that starts at 6:30 or 6 p.m. that evening. So there's a little break between that, and you don't have to go to both. We're selling a lot less tickets to the dinner than we are to the event. So once those dinner tickets sell out, then that's it. And we can fit a few more people in for the actual event, but 10 to 4, it's a Saturday. I understand Saturdays are hard, but if we all don't start taking steps in our business to work a little bit harder, do more than what we're just doing, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, then our business and our growth is going to stay at a certain level. So all I'm asking agents to do is get in the room, put yourself in the room, take that risk for your own business, put yourself in the room to commit 6 hours on a Saturday this November. And I promise you, people are going to be asking, when's the next one after they did the first one?
You know who's going to show up is the people that are committed. It takes a commitment to devote your Saturday to learning, just like it takes a commitment when we go get on the plane and take off somewhere for 2 and 3 and 4 days and spend thousands of dollars. It's because we're committed to learning and to growing, period.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think people see from an outsider's perspective, like, Jenna's always jumping on a plane and doing stuff. But you know what really has to happen for that? Like, I have to, as soon as that conference is over, and I know you always are like, girl, you're like going out the door. I'm like, Trisha, no, you're like already on a plane as soon as it's over because you got a business to run.
Yes.
Like, I'm having to stay up all night running my business so I can get the education I'm getting. And also, I don't take time away from my children lightly, right? Like, I don't take. I am doing this because I have a responsibility to the agents that work in my office, and I have a responsibility to my staff to continue growing. So that way, people like Google, people like Amazon, people like Zillow don't put me out of business.
All day long. And you have a responsibility to your family, to your kids, to be the best mom and to provide the best life for them. And you can't do that if you're not growing, period.
Absolutely. They would be so bored of me just being at home, sitting on the couch.
It's not in you. I'm so excited about this. And thank you for including me too. This is going to be awesome.
Yes, no, I couldn't think of anyone better. It's just, I have a few friends in the industry in Houston, and I think that's something that you and I have realized of, like, who can you really call? Who can you pick up the phone and say, like, this shit's hard. There's some exhausting stuff. I actually had my accountant in here teaching our agents today just about taxes and IRS stuff. And, I was very personal with them and said, like, I had a story with this. Like, this was hard. This is, it took years of an IRS payment plan to figure this stuff out. And, like, my friends on W-2 did not understand that. Right. So, there's just different facets of our business that we need to be able to be honest about and be able to say, like, what's coming around the corner. And I, much like you, think that there are changes coming for our industry. And I think that a level of service, I tell my agents all the time, I'm like, the day of, like, oh, you just casually do real estate on the side, that day is over. And in my opinion, you got to make a choice here. You're either going all in and you're going to be a professional in this, or you get on the sideline, because there is no in between anymore. And I think we've made that work for as long as we can. But for the people who wanted to make that work, but those days are over. It is all in or all out, in my opinion. And if we don't get ahead of this, and if we don't make sure that our agents are running the best and smoothest businesses possible, we're going to be left behind when the world of real estate starts to change.
Amen to that. And what's even cooler is that because you're so forward thinking, you put this event together once, and she's right, you guys, John Sheplak is insane. Once you go to any event that he's speaking at, nothing else compares. Like, I go to a ton of events and I almost don't even sign up for anything else anymore, because I go there and I'm disappointed, because it's like, he's so intense, and then the panel is so intense, and the room is such in a different atmosphere. It's like nothing else compares. So I can't.
No. If you want someone, I mean, John is sometimes most lovable guy ever. And I say this so kind, most lovable guy. And if you know me personally, you know that I'm a jokester, and I talk a lot of smack back to John with the stuff he gives me. But a real estate coach, made me lose 65 pounds. A real estate coach made me get rid of chronic pain and be able to get my life back. A real estate coach made me triple my sales. A real estate coach made me go from 8 to 32 agents, like, in a year. there's a lot of value in that.
Oh my
And
God.
and honestly, if agents locally came and got one of those things, it would be life changing for them. I had someone in my life tell me, like, you seem woke. Like you got woke. And I was a little bit offended, but then I was like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, I did. And good for me, because most people will spend 3 years of their life chasing one of the goals that I've accomplished in the last year. So I'm really proud of what we've done. And it's been hard work. There's been no easy fix to this whatsoever. I would love to make a collection of the private messages I get from people on social media, because they're like, what surgery did you get? What magic pill is it? Did you hire a recruiter? How'd you recruit all those people? How did you triple your sales? Oh, you must not have been doing any sales before. No, I've been in the top 200 agents in the city for a very long time. I just started holding myself accountable. I started prioritizing my health, and I started prioritizing the things I wanted to do in my business, and got very clear about what my boundaries are, and very clear about what my, not goals, the things I was going to accomplish. Anything less than that, not going to work for me.
I love that. Standards, right? Principles.
Yep.
You know those words. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Oh, this is so fun. Thank you for having me.
Hey, we're going to drop the link to register for Jena's event in the comments below. If y'all don't see it for any reason, whatever, make sure and reach out to Jena. She can hook you guys up. Remember, it's November 13th. It's a Saturday. It's 10 to 4, or you can stay and register for the dinner too. Jena Turner, she's there in the Heights. She's here in Houston. She's freaking awesome. She's the owner of Found Realty, and I just am so happy and so proud of her. Thank you so much, Jena.
Trisha, you're one of my favorite. I'm so glad we have each other in Houston.
Me too. You guys have a great day.
Okay, thanks.
Bye, y'all.